Can you believe this? A used AA battery, something most of us would throw away without a second thought, can actually be reused to build a DIY mini welding machine. Every year, billions of batteries end up as waste. Inside them are heavy metals and harmful chemicals that slowly contaminate the soil, pollute water sources, and impact human health over time. That's why I personally feel a responsibility to share and guide people on how to reuse what still has value, instead of letting it become hazardous waste. First, I'll remove the outer casing of the AA battery and carefully take out the battery core. In this project, we only reuse the core to make a DIY welding tip for the mini welding device shown in this video. I place special emphasis on the battery core because it is the most important component inside an AA battery. If the battery were a house, the core would be its foundation and structural frame. It's designed to conduct electricity reliably, has a relatively solid metal structure, and can tolerate a certain level of heat, all essential characteristics when we think about making a small, homemade welding tip. Compared to sourcing specialized materials that are often expensive or hard to find, the battery core offers a compact size, a practical shape, and easy availability. More importantly, it's a part that usually ends up as electronic waste, even though it still holds usable value when approached thoughtfully and responsibly. From a DIY perspective, working with a battery core helps us better understand material structure, electrical conductivity, and heat transfer. From an environmental perspective, it encourages a different way of thinking about waste. Not everything that gets thrown away is truly useless. Often, it's simply a matter of how we choose to look at it and how wisely we reuse it. In this video, the battery core may seem like a small detail, but it plays a key role, bridging hands-on DIY creativity with environmental awareness in a very practical way. And just like that, a DIY welding tip made from an AA battery is born. Nothing fancy, no complicated tools, just a bit of understanding and some hands-on effort. Can you write about this round hook screw? It may seem simple at first, but it's actually a clever little component. The round hook screw has a solid threaded body and a curved hook at the end, making it useful for securing and connecting small parts. In this project, the round hook screw will become part of the front assembly of the DIY mini welding device. It helps keep the welding tip properly positioned and improves stability during use. A small detail, but one that completes the whole build. By combining baking soda with liquid glue, I get a practical way to secure the round hook screw inside the AA battery casing. The outer shell was already set aside earlier, since it's no longer needed. As for the inner casing, I reuse it as a handle for the DIY welding device. It's a clean, solid solution that makes the most of available materials. To secure the DIY welding tip, the first thing that came to my mind was a motorcycle valve stem, because it's not just a familiar part, it's a component with a long history in mechanical and transportation design. Valve stems date back to the early days of inflatable tires, when bicycles, motorcycles, and later automobiles began to rely on pressurized air for mobility. Their original purpose was simple: keep air sealed inside the tire. But to do that reliably, a valve stem had to meet several requirements at once: airtight sealing, durability, pressure resistance, and the ability to withstand temperature changes over time. As technology evolved, so did the valve stem. The rubber compound was refined for better elasticity, while the inner metal core became strong enough to maintain structure yet flexible enough for installation and replacement. These characteristics didn't just make valve stems better for tires, They also made them surprisingly useful for small DIY applications. In this project, the motorcycle valve stem helps hold the DIY welding tip firmly without being overly rigid. It reduces vibration, allows easy adjustment, and is widely available. A small component originally designed for transportation, now finding a second life in a completely different role. A perfect example of reuse, creativity, and practical DIY thinking. For this DIY mini welding device, you only need a single core electrical wire. There's no need for thick or complicated wiring, since the device operates on a small scale. A single core wire is easy to find, simple to work with, and keeps the wiring neat, perfectly matching the straightforward nature of this DIY project. As for the wiring connections, I recommend following the method shown in the video to avoid any incorrect connections, ensuring smoother and more reliable operation. To keep the connection secure and stable, I fix part of the electrical wire to the handle using insulating tape. This helps reduce movement during use and prevents the wire from being pulled or bent unintentionally. It's a small step, but it makes the device neater and much more comfortable to hold and work with. At the other end of this single core wire, I'll attach an alligator clip. This makes the connection quicker and more flexible, allowing easy attachment and removal when needed. A practical choice for a DIY mini welding device where convenience really matters. Think that's all? Not quite yet. I'll be making one more connector for the negative side of the power source. It's very straightforward, just a single core electrical wire with alligator clips attached to both ends. This setup makes the connection more flexible, easier to handle, and convenient to attach or remove while using the DIY mini welding device. A small battery is a very suitable option to provide just the right amount of power for this DIY welding device. There's no need for a large or complicated power source. Once you see an electric arc forming when the two terminals touch, that's already a successful result. The next testing steps are fairly simple, but they're more than enough to accurately judge the power of this DIY mini welding device. So don't skip ahead, the most interesting part is still coming up. And just like that, from items most people would throw away, we've built a fully working DIY mini welding device. Not to prove anything extraordinary, but to remind ourselves that creativity often begins by looking at old things differently. If you found this project useful, try building it, improve it in your own way, and most importantly, share it so more people see that DIY isn't just about saving money, it's also about caring for the environment. Thanks for watching until the end. Don't forget to like, share, and I'll see you in the next project, where discarded things get a second chance.